and welcome to Verve Word Podcast for You. I am your host, Cheryl Smith, CEO of Confident Living Solutions, where we help unlock your confidence, your creativity, and your joy. We know that words bring life and or death. We know that words have power. So what we want to do is take those words that we sometimes use negatively and transform them into words that brings life, into words that uplift, inspire, and expand. So tune in to the Live Show podcast. Details are below. Again, I am your host, Cheryl Smith, Confident Living Solutions, where we unlock your confidence, your creativity, and your joy. Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to Verve Word Podcast for You. Today we have our guest, Andrea Richardson, who is a former educator and currently an educational consultant for iReady. And we have Cristal Carlos, who's an educator at Johnson College Prep. And we have Mr. Tyrone Brown, who is the Life Show podcast. Thank you all for joining us, for joining on today's podcast. We have a little twist going on today, a little different. Usually we have our youth on, but they're coming back. But we have our adults on today. And speaking of the words adult, we want to talk about the word adulting. So if any of our young people are listening and looking, we want to tackle that word. We want to give our perspective on adulting. And don't worry, you'll have your opportunity to come on so we can talk about this word adulting. They use it so much, I hear it all the time, this word adulting. So I have a quick question about this word adulting. As far as the definition, is adulting acting like or behaving or trying to be an adult, with trying to express those behaviors of an adult, or is adulting actually making that transition from youth to adulthood? I'm not sure which one it is.
You know what? I would say it's a combination of both. You turn 21, 25, and there's all these things that you have to do, but you really don't know how to do them. So because of that reason, there's like another component where it's a facade, where you're not quite an adult, you're like faking the funk. And I say it all the time, it's like a scam. You're going in there trying to pretend and you really don't know what you're doing. And I want to say probably like 40, 50, maybe even 60s when you really have it together and kind of figure it out. But any age under that, it's all an act. It's just a game behind it.
Yeah, I agree. And even at that age, 40, 50, 60, sometimes we don't have it
Still
all
have figured out. Yeah, absolutely.
figured out. But I'm like you. I'm leaning towards more of the acting, wanting to be. Because if the young people knew like I knew, like I know now,
Like we know, right?
we know now, they would leave that adulting alone. And I've talked to some older, in their 20s, and now they are saying this adulting is what they call is the devil, or some word that they're using about this word adulting. But they are not pleased with it, but my words to them were, no, but come on, you were ready for this. You act like when you were 14, 15, 30, you were made to be an adult.
Yep.
So I talk to how does it feel to be an adult when I talk to them now, now that you're adulting.
Yeah, my daughter's advice to her friend who's about 25 was stay at home as long as you can. Don't do this adulting thing.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Like Cristal said, it's a facade. It's you turn a certain age, you graduate high school and college, and you do the things that you're told to do or supposed to do, but you're just still just trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
Or like you said, sure, we're still figuring it out. I'm
exactly.
46 and still trying to figure it out.
Because
Yeah.
it's a lot of responsibilities. That
Yeah.
Mhm.
adulting is a lot of responsibility, and our young people don't understand that, and that's because they're already still at home.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
somebody's already feeding them and clothing them.
Mhm.
They don't have taxes. They
Mhm.
don't have bills.
Yes.
You know, but yet it's
Taxes
still
are a part of adulting.
exactly. Yet it's still, but they're grown. You know, they'll tell you in a minute, I'm grown.
That's
I'm
because
grown.
they relate the word being grown with the idea of freedom, and they're not the same.
Right.
They like,
Absolutely.
oh, okay, if I'm once I'm an adult, I can move like I want to, do what I want to do. You can, but not at full capacity. Because then you can stay up all night, but you can't physically do that as an adult because you have things to do. So I think parents, and I try to be as clear as I can, even with my students, is that if you're not clear on what adulting really, really is, you're gonna, go through life like it's an American dream or something like that, and it's not. Again, the only thing adulting gives you is wiggle room and freedom to move how you want within limitations. But
Yeah,
that's it.
exactly. I was going to say that because there are boundaries.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Even being an adult, you can't move like you want to. There are still some rules that you're gonna have to follow. I used to tell my daughter all the time when she was learning how to drive. You know how they don't want to follow rules. You know, they don't follow the red light rule
Right.
and see what happens.
Right.
So there are even as an adult, there are rules that you have to follow, and like you said, that's what young people now. I think they related to having to do what somebody else tells them to do and following the rules. But as long as they live, there are rules that they're going to have to follow.
Yeah.
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 And
And like you
then
said in that definition, like that acting, I'm sorry, but that
no, you
acting
okay.
part, like you said, like you got to know what are the rules and what you need to follow. And so you can, you know, perform and act accordingly in the adult world.
Yeah.
Exactly.
In responsibility, you always have a part in the direction that you go. And what I guess our youth have to realize is that when you have that responsibility, the blame goes to you. When things don't go well, when things don't go right, then you can't just point the finger and say, well, it was their fault.
Mhm.
No, as an adult, you have to take full responsibility of your choices and
Mhm.
your decisions. And so it you have to take on the weight of being an adult. It no longer is the finger pointing. You have to accept the responsibility and the weight that comes with adulting.
Yeah. Because there's that, I like I said, that accountability.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
yes.
know, you're going to have to
Accountability.
pay for your own actions. You know, as they say, when we were kids, our parents kind of paid for our actions. But once you
Yeah.
become an adult, like you said, you're going to pay for your own actions.
Absolutely.
Like so you can't point the finger anymore. So how did it feel? Did I'm sure because I know I was once there.
Mhm.
We all I'm gonna ask. Did anybody else feel like me? Was like I can't wait to get out of my mama's house. I can't wait to grow up. I can't wait. I know I'm not the only one that felt like
Yeah. I
Oh.
definitely felt like that. But that's because I was adulting as a teenager. There was a lot
Mhm.
of responsibility that I had at a very young age. So because of that, I was like, oh, I can't wait to get away so I can do less of this. It was a
that.
joke. It was a trick. It was a trick.
Yep.
Doing more of it, probably 10 times more.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah.
Because I
If
was the only child. Well,
yeah,
only child, and I'm like, I got to get up out of here.
Especially
yeah,
the bill part. That's the part like you really don't realize. The managing your bills, making sure you have a job to pay the bills,
Mhm,
and just
mhm.
all the bills that come along with adulting. So
Right.
that you don't, I mean, it's more than just food
yeah.
and making sure you got something to eat.
Mhm.
If I can just say, freedom ain't free.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, a lot of people, well, I just need my freedom. Well, there's a cost. There's a
Yes.
cost for freedom. And whenever you get the bill for freedom, then it's gonna be able to tell the tale if you are really an adult at that point in time, because you understand that freedom ain't free. When you have to pay bills, as Andrea said, when you have to wake up in the morning to go to work, when you have to stay long hours at work because you need to pay bills. On top of that, when you start having children and then they have their needs, you have to feed them as well as yourself. Adulting is definitely not easy.
Easy.
This is not for the faint of heart. I remember as a kid, saying, "Man, I can't wait till I turn 18." And then when I turned 18, I was like, "Oh my God, what in the world did I say?" You know,
Instead of the mindset like being young and like learning financial literacy and stuff like that. So like you say, when you are, getting out there in the world, you can, do this adulting thing.
Because we don't take the time to enjoy our young life. And that's what young people, they want to grow up so fast, they don't take the time to enjoy the age that they are.
I think we need to be more specific too, though. Like, I'm gonna be honest, just to kind of piggyback on what Andrea just said. When you're an adult, you're never prepared enough for what's coming your way. There's not enough books. There's not enough classes. I remember coming out of college, coming out of undergrad, and I was like completely lost. Like, what's next? Like, there's no manual on how to like move through life at all and handle like these most challenging situations. So, again, I think as a parents, we have to kind of like tell them this now. Like, you need to really do your research because I can only give you a map for a little bit. The rest is on you.
Because they don't know the steps to take. It's like, what steps are next?
But it's like a staircase with the first 4, and then it's like 6 and 7 is missing, and you got to find a way to kind of climb up to the last 9 and 10. So that's really how it is.
They think they're under stress as young people. Just wait till they get adulthood. Stress comes, in a lot of different situations, because they have to then really make important life decisions.
Well, it's almost like they're looking at a facade. They really don't understand what they're looking at.
Their lens their lens is like
exactly what, like it's just like when a baby is just been born and their eyes are open. They don't understand what they're seeing. Because they have no understanding or clear understanding of the world just around them. And so they're looking at all of these things, but none of these images make sense.
Right.
And so as they live life and as they experience it, then all of the pieces are put in place so that now they get a better understanding of what life is about, what responsibility is, what integrity is, what character is. And then, they're learning little bits and pieces and they're like, "Oh, I got freedom." And then when they find out freedom ain't free, then they're like, "Oh."
Yeah.
It's like wearing sunglasses in a dark room and you take them off and that light come on, like, oh, that's really
like what happened. Because they don't understand being an adult is life planning, and that's what they need to understand now about planning. Plan your work and work your plan. As opposed to so busy trying to be, they need to do some life planning, because that's what adults do. We do long-term life planning by setting goals. They need to learn how to set financial goals.
And that's what you kind of was talking about too, Christelle, like that kind of preparedness. If having that preparedness, doesn't help, but doesn't solve the problem, but it does help you along the way.
Yeah, like a little bit of guidance.
Absolutely. So you can figure out some of those bigger challenges and navigate some of those bigger challenges, or at least know they're coming.
Right. And that will help them manage also and prioritize their health. As opposed to trying to be so,
That's something that definitely should be discussed. No one really pays attention to the health aspect or mental health alone that you have to deal with as an adult. Stress is huge, a part of like being an adult and then trying to figure out how to manage that stress on top of all the other tasks you're supposed to be doing that you feel like you don't have enough time to do. And it's just trying to beat the clock. It just doesn't feel good.
Because there's never not enough time in the day. By the time you wake up and blink your eyes, you up again. Just to blink of an eye. I'm like, didn't I just leave this place? And I go
Mhm.
back to work. I'm like, I just left here. And then by the time you get
Mhm.
home and do some things, and especially now that the weather is, it's getting darker, it's time to go to bed all over again.
Yeah, it is.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know,
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
there's a video. There's some type of meme going around like that where it's someone in the video. They
Mhm.
get up, get in the car at work, like the same routine over and over again. And I swear that's how my life feels right now. It's like clockwork, the same routine. Like I look forward to my weekend so much, and I feel like there's never enough time.
but
Because
the
adulting say
weekends
I
go
got to
by
get my
so
house in
fast.
So
order.
quick.
The weekends go
Absolutely.
by so fast.
Mhm.
2 days is not
Mhm.
enough.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all.
You
But
know,
see,
I'm an avid believer that to whom much is given, much is required. And when you find your purpose, then you're gonna find out how busy you are. Um, you know, like I believe that was Christelle that was talking about stress.
Mhm.
Stress is no joke. It is the number one killer in the world. And when you take on so much stress in your life, whether it's stress from home, stress from work, stress from relationships, just internal stress about your health. Mental health is a major thing in the world. I have never seen so many mental health facilities
Mhm.
popping up in the world as I have in these last days. And so I just want to, just making sure that we have it clear that, hey, as an adult, you need to learn how to manage stress. You need to
Mhm.
learn how to manage all of these things because they come so fast,
And
and
that's the part too,
yeah,
to piggyback, like that's the part of adulting that I think kids need to understand too. Like you don't have to have it all figured out, and it's okay. Like it is a process, and it
it
is,
is.
because that
yeah,
work life balance will
yeah,
burn you
and
out.
Yeah.
absolutely. So, and
That
like you
work
said,
life
managing that
balance.
stress and finding that joy and just sitting back and appreciating the
Mhm.
things you do have, the things you can do, and sometimes not always, focusing on the what I don't and and what I want.
Because even with
So,
communication, even it's hard for adults to communicate sometimes.
Yeah.
mhm,
you know. But our young people, when you become an adult, as the Bible said, when I was a man, when I was a child, I thought as a child, when I became a man, I put away childish things.
mhm,
As
And so when you become an adult, and I try to stress when you become an adult, you have to consider those things.
yes,
So your style of living changes.
mhm,
Mhm.
The way you do things, the way you handle things. You know, I try to talk to them all the time about conflict management.
yeah,
mhm,
So when you become an adult, the way you handle things as a youth, you can't handle those things, as an adult.
yeah,
mhm,
Like I say, that lifestyle kind of like change, and you have to take heed to that.
yeah.
mhm,
And that's one thing my mother used to always to try to tell me, just take heed because you don't have to experience everything.
That's good.
mhm,
Yeah.
Take
That's
heed. She would
good.
always say, just take heed. You don't have
That's
to experience.
good.
But no, as in, I want to, hey, you want to do and all that. And she's like, just take heed to other people experiences. She said, and mine, because I'm not going to tell you anything wrong. Take heed, and
Yeah.
you don't have to experience everything. You don't have to go through all that.
mhm.
But even today, they don't see it that way. I don't think.
Sure. I'm glad you said that. Taking heed, and that's why we are the adults, or we're supposed to be the adults, because our youth are supposed to learn from us, and if they can't learn it from us, then whom do they get it from?
Mhm.
So I really honor that you said, take heed, and watch who you're getting information from, because the person that you're getting information from they may not be a reliable source. As an adult, you want to make sure that when you're getting information, that you get really good information, not just from word of mouth. but you're getting good results that come with the information that you're getting.
Yeah, from trusted sources, from trusted sources.
Yes.
You want to do that. Because becoming an adult, it takes it's a responsibility, but it takes effort. It takes time and effort. And I think you said, Andrea, don't rush it. We want to rush to be grown. We want to rush to be free, as you said. Being free ain't free all the time. Freedom, what I mean, Mr. Brown, you said, so it takes time and effort and some determination, some willingness that we have to put into that because they're still learning to navigate the challenges, and we're still learning to navigate those challenges, even as adults.
Yeah.
I think one thing they should remember, kids should definitely remember this. I don't know, maybe because it resonates so much with me. Because you mentioned joy earlier. Do not lose your imagination and your hopes, because that's the first thing that goes out of the window as an adult, because you get stuck in this like routine. Your imagination and your dreams is like all you have, and that's those passions and those purposes are going to come from that. So like whatever you do, keep that in the back of your mind and still work towards that in the midst of taking a funk.
Still have that kid life within, that kid kind of attitude, a little bit in you once you become an adult. So don't lose that childlike, thing that you have.
We don't want to scare them too much.
No.
Like it's bad, but there's a few. It's okay.
It's a lot of good things to life, but it's the thing that we don't want them to, like you said, just come up too fast the wrong way.
Yeah, critical.
There's a right and wrong way of everything, and you're not going to always get it right.
Yep, absolutely.
An adult.
And you learn from those experiences and you grow from those experiences. And like we said, that preparedness kind of helps you, like you said, to enjoy. I mean, because like there is a lot to enjoy when you have the means to, and the people around you to, enjoy life with.
Right. Good. Like I said, good relationships. That's meaningful people in your life. The good relationships where you can maintain that good communication with your friends.
Absolutely. Yep.
And stuff like that, and they need to just cherish that and hold on to that, And in time, as the older people say, just keep living. If you just keep living, in time, they will be an adult.
Yeah.
But the hope is that they've prepared, for adulthood, even though mistakes and different stuff come. We're not exempt from any of that, but hopefully that they are prepared for the adulting life, with their finances in order. It's one thing to be an adult, can't pay your bills, you can't make your appointments, your time management skills are off, you can't keep your deadlines, you can't prioritize your tasks. All that is a part of adulting, and and sometimes we mess up, miss the deadline, miss this, miss that. But like you said earlier, we can't point the finger at anybody else. We have to be accountable.
You got to critically think. If you critically think, you can figure out the things that you don't know how to do yet.
Absolutely. And that's part of being a kid right now, is building up those skills and that capacity to be a critical thinker and a problem solver. And if you have those under your belt, you can do this adulting thing.
And it takes time. So what I want to do is, I really enjoyed this conversation. I want us to come back on with some youth, and we want to see what they say about how they feel about adulting. Are they ready? Are they ready to leave the nest, or are they saying no? I want to stay as long as I can. And, and it becomes the time. Sometimes they have to leave the nest. You need to put them out the nest. Because the best part about that is letting them go when it's time to go. And especially while you still here as a parent. So if something happens, they always have a place to come back. Have a place to come back. So I would love to get their thoughts and perspective on this adulting thing.
Absolutely.
And see how they feel about it. So I would love for us to come back with some youth. I know I have some youth of mine. I'm sure some of you may have some youth of mine that we can get back on. And see how we'll be surprised probably what they would say about.
Hopefully they know it's a trick. Stay home a little bit longer.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, they got
Yep.
they have
'Cause that's
to.
the one thing to rethink. We always say 18 a year out, but that's the thing,
Hmm.
we got to kind of reconsider and rethink,
Hmm.
like, is that the best thing? I mean, just for society as a whole,
Hmm. Right,
just
because
pushing them
some
out to experience this
right,
adult thing.
right, right. Because some of them aren't ready. Some of them are
Mhm.
still getting prepared. So yeah, we have to know,
Mhm.
as I said, when to hold them, when to fold them. We need to know
Mhm.
when the right time,
Mhm.
and that's why it's always good for parents and their children to have good relationships.
Yeah.
Good relationship, so you can help your child or whatever. And even if it's a mentor, somebody that a youth needs to have a good relationship with, like I said, that trusted source, so they can know when is a good time to take on that adulting,
Mhm.
and how to take on that adulting.
Yeah. Definitely.
That's a good time and how to do it. Well, I think that, I guess, I've enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we can wrap it up.
Okay.
Any thoughts? Anybody have any last thoughts on adulting? I have one, and mine is, like we all say, if I knew what I knew now, things would be totally different.
They sure would be. I
That
guarantee you that.
I'll leave you with that. That part of my adult life, that adulting. If I knew then, I mean, if I knew now, how does it go? If I knew then what I
Now.
know now.
Yeah.
If I knew
Yeah.
then what I
Yeah.
know now,
Yeah.
my adulting life
Yes.
would
Absolutely.
be totally different. Would be
Yeah.
Yeah.
totally
Some parts of
different.
it. Some
We
parts I
always
would
have
keep.
that I coulda, shoulda, woulda, sometime, and they'll see that too,
Yeah.
those, there's some of them, but it's still been good. It's still been
Mhm.
good, but
Definitely.
that's, I still say, I knew then what I know now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
Anybody?
ladies, it was fun, and thank you also. So thank you, Cheryl, for having me on tonight. I'm usually in the background, but thank you for having me on tonight. It was really, really good.
Well, I thank you for coming, agreeing to come. Because when we get our mail on, we're gonna need you on, so because we want to hear their perspective from as young men. You
Absolutely.
know, there may be two different perspectives. Our young ladies may have one, our young men may have another one. Young men want to be men, da
Yeah.
da da, and all that stuff. So, but are they ready for it? Are they? I'm a man. You know how they can be sometimes. But we got to be ready for it. So yeah, so we appreciate you coming on with your
Absolutely.
male perspective. We want you all to come back.
Yeah, and I also want to piggyback. Thanks for having me as well, because I have a lot to say.
Thank you, thank you. I thank you all for joining, uh, taking this ride with me, this journey, as we do this. So we're still learning and we're still growing and learning, but with the help of God, we'll be all right. Just trying to do what uh, help our students, our youth, and do what God said for us to do. And we just in His will, whatever His will is. I put it like that.
Yeah.
So thank you all so much for joining us. And I want to thank our listening audience for joining us. Um, Pretty soon we'll be starting, hopefully taking comments from the chat.
Yeah.
We had some things in the chat. We'll start picking up on that as well. But thank you again for joining the Verve Word Podcast. We will see you again soon on the Life Show Podcast. Thank you.